Computer. All right, so it's recording now. Hello, everybody. I will be having an interview discussion with the two candidates for the village president of Oak Park. On the left column at the bottom, we have Cate Readling. She was the community outreach coordinator for the park district. And on the top, we have Vicki Scaman. She was the village clerk, and they are both running for village president of Oak Park. What we're doing here is I have some questions, and it's a way to get some more student involvement within this. So what I did was I went ahead, I asked some classmates and friends, and I went to see what the most important issues to high schoolers were. Um, and I came up with this list of questions, and I'll go ahead and ask the both of you to see what your plans, opinions, and all your thoughts are. Each question will have a time limit to kind of just keep things moving and keep it level and fair. And all that varies depending on the question. So I'll just go ahead and tell you how much time you have for each question. Also have it alternating based on who goes first, and yeah, that's just the general format. Yeah, I'll go ahead and get right started. So the first question that I have is, what are each of your plans for reopening? And more specifically, just what are your thoughts on reopening and how to stay safe? We'll start with Vicki. You have 90 seconds.
So honestly, that is a conversation that you have very closely with the village manager and the health director, and it's going to very much follow data. So, my thoughts are that we would wait until after spring break and maybe even a couple of weeks after that to make sure that there isn't any uptick in the data following spring break. But as the non-professional on this, I really rely for government to help keep us safe and healthy on this topic. And we're very lucky to have our own health department. So I would be utilizing their skills and following that direction. I'm proud that the Village of Oak Park was at the forefront of shutting down quickly and working to keep people safe. So I wish I had more answers because I know a lot of non-for-profits, including NAMI. I know you're involved with NAMI. They were looking to have something at Scobell Park, and a lot of downtown Oak Park non-for-profits and want to start planning their functions, but safety does come first.
All right, and then Cate, what are your thoughts?
So I think reopening feels really controversial because there are so many factors to it, and making sure that we are looking closely at the testing and the vaccinations and the results of those things close in. There's data statewide, but we need to look at how things are going here in Cook County and here in Oak Park to make sure that we are following best practices. I think that there are a lot of opportunities for open dialogue where the village can be more supportive to how small businesses are going about opening, and making sure that dialogue remains open, and that it's also open with the community so everybody understands how those decisions are being made. I think those are all the most important aspects of making those decisions.
All right. With the whole pandemic in general, one of the biggest things, along with, obviously the rates of infection, has been the highlight of how different communities are affected differently. And along with the police incidents that have been really brought into the public eye recently, one of the biggest issues that myself, our community, and fellow students have been really concerned about is the issue of race with all people of color. my question here is, what do each of you identify as the most important issues with regards to race, and what do you identify as the most important roots of those issues? We'll start with Cate this time, and you have 3 minutes for this question.
Oh, thank you. So the most important roots of this issue is the systemic, generational, institutionalized racism that exists, and being both cognizant of that and also making sure that our government is taking a role in not only recognizing that and acknowledging that, but also taking action, and not just any kind of action, but taking leadership in that action. There have been lots of opportunities in the past few years where our community was pushing for Oak Park to be a leader, and we have not hit the mark on that, unfortunately. We are not immune. Oak Park is not immune to the systems of oppression that exist, and acknowledging that is the most important thing. And the first part of your question was more about, you were asking about identifying what's the most important issue about race specifically.
Yeah, so just in general, what are the most prevalent things that you plan to focus on with regards to race?
I mean, I think from that aspect, the most important thing is recognizing the disparity that has manifested itself financially, socially, and accessibility wise for all of the years. I don't believe that we need to study the issue anymore. We have the evidence, we have the people, the Black and brown people in our community who are telling us what their experience is and what they need. And so it is up to us as a community, and especially as a government, to take up those questions and requests and needs and make sure that we are addressing it head on and exactly what they're asking for. I think the first place to start is that we need a racial equity policy. We were not able to pass a policy at the board level. It's still a statement. So that's the first start, is to for policy. And then the second start would be collecting race data in everything that we do, in housing, in our volunteer positions, at our commissions, making sure that that data is accessible. I think all of our taxing bodies.
Sorry, the time is up. We will get back to this, but we'll get back to the specifics of how to address it. Vicki, you have 3 minutes for your opinions.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would agree that, you know, the systemic racism in our nation is something that we need to recognize and be standing for at all levels of government. And we need to be identifying where it is in our policy where we still have those racist bits, you know, whether it's in our affordable housing policies or in how we work with renters, or how it is that we, you know, issue permits for small businesses, and what barriers there are to even opening small businesses. Are many examples that you want to look to address at every level of policy to make sure that we're taking away any of those bit of subtle racist that creates barriers. Racism's an access to wealth and access to just having the opportunity to thrive and participate as an active participant here in our community. So I would absolutely agree that we need to have accurate representation of our village and Black and brown voices within all of our commissions, and with bigger agendas too, as we work to create longer action plans for sustainability. And an action plan, there's and we do need an equity policy. We need to operate at the board table, understanding the weight on our shoulders as elected officials, to not respond with defensiveness, to not respond with fear, and embrace this moment so that everybody can have what they need to live and thrive in Oak Park and beyond. Because I do think that Oak Park has, I do volunteer in communities around us, but I'm very careful when I go into other communities to not be behaving as if Oak Park's got it figured out, because I well know that we've been not facing our own truth for decades, and resting on our laurels. But when I'm operating there, I'm working to try to, help. And I know that, but still at the same time, I know that when Oak Park messes it up, we do mess it up for more than just Oak Park, because we are a leader community. And so it is a crucial time in our history to be willing to have race conversations openly, transparently, without fear, without defensiveness, and then work to really.
And I'm going to stop you right there. The 3 minutes is up for that. And that brings us into the next question, which is, what are the specific policies to combat those issues that you brought up? And how do you plan to implement those policies? And more importantly, what are the specific policies that the ones you want to focus on, and how both of your policies differ from each other? For this question, we can start with Vicki. You have 2.5 minutes.
So I would work with those that I'm elected with, the trustees that are sitting at the table now, as well as any trustees that are elected on April 6th with me, and work to make sure that we identify our goals. So in writing policy now, I wouldn't want to do that before I have those conversations and have the breadth of experiences and viewpoints of those that are representing our community, helping craft those policies. What I would say is that areas of interest of mine to really dig deep are around adjudication, and particularly with youth, and and working with our township and other governing bodies. But also we know that it's a real priority that we want to leave our earth safe and thriving for the next generation. And what I'm talking about is a climate action plan. And so there's what what I've done in the past in working with grants is you need to have a disparity plan with everything. So all of the money that we receive from the federal government to address economic recovery too, every single bit of it has to have a disparity plan. And that disparity plan has to have a very broad outreach to all sectors of our community: LGBTQ, disability, race, age, and making sure that we're thoughtful with policies that really matter to all of us. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then Cate, you have the same 2.5 minutes for the same question.
Great. Thank you. So policy-wise, I believe that racial equity has to be the focus for every decision that we make. We know what the effects of racism are, and no matter who gets elected, those effects, they already exist, and they're going to continue to exist beyond the election. And so I believe that we know what we need to do, and every decision that we make is going to have to be done with a racial equity lens, so that every ordinance, every bit of zoning, everything that we review that already exists, and every decision that we make going forward has to be done that way. I think that we need a holistic approach to our environmental justice and sustainability, that has to be done for spending purposes. It has to be done. Sorry, we're canvassing today. This is the real action of a campaign going on every minute. Sorry. But that work, that holistic view of our budget and our spending, those decisions have to be made with an environmental justice lens. So we can't just look at like this part of the budget is going to be sustainability. We need to look at our entire budget holistically and make those decisions about, are we doing this equitably? Are we providing money that is a 50% match? Because that is not equitable. We need to be looking at our programs and making sure that we are making them accessible to everyone, regardless of what their income is. Actually, especially when there is a question of lower income, because those homes are the ones that are experiencing flooding and ice dams and current climate crisis effects right now, and they have the least resource to mitigate those problems. So they end up living in a house with mold and having health disparity outcomes. So all of this is all cascading all the time. But what I would commit to is we need to make this happen. This plan, I hope everybody in Oak Park got this in the mail. This is the Race and Social Justice Initiative for the Represent Oak Park slate. It is remarkable, it is comprehensive, and it is something that I believe everybody who is running for elected office or volunteering or doing anything in this community should be ready to commit to.
All right, and time is up for that question. I will, since this is a longer question and it deserves some depth to it, I will give 20 seconds for each of you to respond to each other's points. So Vicki, we will start with you with your 20 seconds with your response.
Honestly, I think that most of us want to see a great deal happen on this topic. And so I'm excited to see the candidates that are running for office today to help make that happen. Thank you.
Cate, you have the same 20 seconds.
I think I would like to take my 20 seconds to recognize that we haven't done enough. We have been relying on what's been done in the past and diverting attention and saying that we need more data and we need more information. And I don't think we do. Thank you.
Okay. To move things to a lighter tone, next topic will be one about something we do every day, depending on who you are, obviously. But my question is, do you have coffee or tea? And if you do, what do you have with your coffee or tea? I believe, Cate, yes, Cate, you can start, and you have a minute.
I love coffee. I love coffee very much. When I had my twins, who are now 16, I stopped taking anything in my coffee because there was no time. So I still drink my coffee black. So I love it even more because of I can really taste the taste. And I love subscribing. I subscribe to Live Cafe's monthly coffee sponsorship program so that I can get different coffees all the time and taste them. At night, I'm now drinking tea with honey and lemon. So I have throat comfort tea because there's a lot of talking going on right now. So I'm doing both.
All right, Vicki, now you have a minute as well to talk about your response.
I am a huge fan of coffee, and I do drink my coffee black as well. I wasn't always a huge fan. I went to art school in the 80s, and everybody was coming to art school with their big mug, and I had to kind of train myself to like it, and then that was a bad thing to do because now I have to have it. I'm very proud right now. I do subscribe to the same subscription, but I also have Cribby Coffee has endorsed me, and so they have a victory blend, and we're donating the proceeds to Beyond Hunger. I'm also on the board for Yumba, and they've got a partnership with Dark Matter Coffee, and with a student that was mine many years ago, his artwork on the front. So could not, I just love that the question even came up. Love coffee.
All right. Thank you for your responses. Unfortunately, there will not be time to have counter argument responses for this question. But on the topic of food, that does bring me to an important part of life that's been brought into light in the recent decade or so, and that is composting. Um, what are each of your opinions on what you want to do with composting? Specifically, uh, Vicki, I've heard that you want education in regards to the issue, and Cate, I've heard about your plans with businesses. Uh, how do you, the both of you plan to incorporate both of those into what you want to do with the future of composting in Oak Park? This question, we can start with Vicki. You have a minute and a half.
All right. So I both of those things I know with, I used to run a restaurant, and there's a lot of food waste. There's a lot of opportunity for composting, and it's really not accessible to our businesses in an affordable way, or even just those. So we have to, at the village board table, push the haulers that we contract with to come up with solutions for our small business community around recycling and composting. But the reason that I really believe that education and a communication campaign have to be a huge part of this, is because that's one of the issues that we have with getting a contract with a hauler, is that if you're in a larger multi-unit building with, or even if it's mixed use with business and apartment or whatever type of mixed use building it might be, and then there can be a lot of cross contamination, and then composting could not be as productive, and recycling cannot be as productive as we'd like it to be. But also, if we're really going to move the needle on a climate action plan and reducing our greenhouse gases, then we have to have everybody to have ownership over being a more resilient community moving forward. And that's going to require having those voices at the table from the very beginning. You know, our single-use tax for our plastic bags.
Sorry, your time is up. Same question, a minute and a half for Cate.
Thank you so much. This is one of my favorite subjects, and since my days of lunch sorting at By School, which is one of the most rewarding but also ickiest jobs, but really goes to the point of how important it is that there were so many folks that were dedicated to growing that effort from grade school. And I really see so many of those kids now in middle school and high school who have grown up in that, with that mindset, that are helping the rest of us stay correct. I know that the best practice is for us to have an opt-out, so I would support that. I have been working with the downtown organizations for years to try to find ways, but it's really going to take government intervention. It's going to take the weight of our government to intervene and make sure that we can get the contracts to support that. And we need to make sure that our multifamily units are supported in that too. There's a lot of people that want to recycle and compost. There's commercial entities that really want to recycle and compost that are not able to access that because of we're not supporting them from the government standpoint.
Okay, and then for this, you can each have, again, 20 seconds just to reflect on what the other person said and give your own take. Vicki, you can start with 20 seconds.
Where did I leave off? Yeah, you know, to me, it's about, if any policy is going to work, there's got to be community buy-in to it. But what I was going to talk about is that single-use tax is really hurting our lower income, for plastic bags, lower income folks more than it is helping. So we need to find maybe some other ways to come up with.
Sorry, your time's up. Kate, you have 20 seconds.
I think I would want to add that our commissions have done the work and have a lot of the information that we need, and we need to be honoring and respecting and acting on that.
All right. Going further into these environmental issues, what are each of your specific policies towards, because obviously composting isn't the only issue that's focusing on, that we have to focus on. There are issues like bike lanes and further environmental initiatives and projects that we can take on as a community. What are some examples of initiatives that you want to take on, scale back on, and overall, what are the specific actions that each of you want to push the board to do? I think it is Kate's turn to start first.
Okay.
Yes. So you have 3 minutes.
Great. Oak Park has a responsibility because we fight above our weight. We have a lot of capacity, a lot of resource, a lot of knowledge, a lot of expertise. And so what I would like to see us do is to be more present and more active and a louder voice in efforts like the Clean Energy Jobs Act, that we should be advocating and promoting that and supporting that, not just for Oak Park, but for all of Cook County and all of Illinois. Other initiatives that I'm familiar with that I really like and appreciate are for Bike Walk Oak Park, the bike lanes and the slow streets programs. What I really appreciate about those is the thoughtfulness and the methodical nature that they approach that they took to that, to get the data while they were able to do the slow streets program so that we can make decisions about how to go forward. The bike library project is really exciting to me. I was heartbroken to see Divvy leave, but I understood in that process that we rushed into it without a lot of community input, and I think that was I think it was handled poorly, and then we lost it, and that was a bummer. And I'm hoping that this bike library, the process that they're going through and the community involvement that they have is going to be really meaningful. I've heard mixed opinions about bike lanes, things that I would not have thought of that I think is really important, to the point of making sure that that the village is taking an active role in helping our commissions and all of our volunteers to collaborate better so that we can have better decisions, that we can have more transparency. Supporting those commissions means that we're going to have more participation in it, in them, and that the collaboration factor is we'll be able to take into account things like the ways that some parts of the community don't like protected bike lanes and what their attitude is about that, and that there's information about helmets that none of us have really heard about the inequities of how those programs are executed, that we need to be more conscious of. Again, it's racial equity, it's just coming into everything. I think you said, as far as initiatives about transportation, we need to be better advocates for having better public transportation, having more reliable public transportation when it comes to Oak Park, because we do have levers of power, we do have access and agency. We need to be making sure that that's more strong.
Your time is up for this question. Vicki, you have the same 3 minutes. The same question: what are the initiatives that you plan to push through the most? And yes, just 3 minutes for that.
Yeah, well, so I am an avid biker. I do know that not everybody feels safe biking in Oak Park, and that, was the plan of a Bike Walk Oak Park was really addressing, is how do we improve that access in a safe way. So that also means, and Kate mentioned, partnering with some of the commissions so the Board of Health right now does have a helmet program, but that could be paired up with other commissions too, so that it is more equitable and so that it has a broader reach, and so that whatever the education to the community looks like is culturally relevant. So as we put the bike lanes on Madison Street, where you've gotten our changing where cars are parking, there are also safety measures that should be with that as well, like teaching people to open their doors with their with their right hand, so that it forces you to turn and look and see whether a biker is coming along the left of your car, so you don't open a car into someone who's biking. Those kinds of things need to be part of these plans, and they're really not cohesive and linked right now. But also the other initiatives around environment and energy are largely about the older home stock that we have, and retrofitting and providing grants. And I was very happy to see that the village is willing to, or that the village board recently passed spending some money for an expert in that area to help us come up with a climate action plan that is really addressing where we're losing our greenhouse gases the most, and picking those strategies that are going to move the needle the greatest, with the greatest impact. So and we also need to really look at our water, and using less hot water, and opportunities for saving water. So these things all have to be a plan, that has, like, as I was saying earlier, all of our community who are embracing the changes, and then turn to policy once you have that buy-in, so that you know that you're not creating barriers in the implementation.
All right, and then I will give each of you 45 seconds to express some of your differences within your policies, why each person should vote for you rather than the other, based on your environmental policy. And we'll start with Cate here for 45 seconds.
We can't hear you, Cate.
You're muted. I'll restart the timer.
Thank you. Thanks, honey. Appreciate that. I think what it boils down to is an approach to sustainability, that an active and progress-centered approach is really important. The feedback that I got from the Sierra Club and from the Sunrise Movement was that they wanted to partner with someone who has been active in advocating in all of the rooms, whether it's the county or the state or it's 123 Madison, that obviously no more anywhere than the environment is the fact that we cannot function as an island.
Okay, and your time is up for that question, Vicki.
Okay.
So my strengths really lie in the relationships that I have right here in Oak Park, not just when writing grants, and there are some wonderful grants that are available specifically around bike plans right now with the county, but also with the partnerships that we've got with Planet Green and with 7 Generations Ahead. So I did receive an endorsement from Gary Cunene, the executive director. It's not from 7 Generations Ahead, but as a person that I would be collaborating with, there's a lot of expertise and people in here, right here in our community, that can help guide this plan. And those are relationships that I have.
All right, moving on. With all of the role that a village president has, with not just issues of race and the environment, what are some visible changes that students like me can start to see around Oak Park should each of you get elected? And you can really take this wherever you want. I'll give you 2.5 minutes each, and we will start with Vicki with 2.5 minutes.
Okay, so the greatest change that you'll see with me as village president is that I understand the processes that need to be put back into place, so that people feel as if the board decisions are informed and in the best interest of the community. And is that, you know, the village is listening to people that, you know, to residents that live here as to what we want our community to look like in 5, 10, 15 years. And understanding how those processes, what those processes look like, both inside Village Hall and outside of Village Hall, is crucial to the implementation. It's crucial to helping a board function together with their shared goals, because we have had a great deal of division at the board table right now. But when you can sit down with a trustee and talk about what is it that you'd like to accomplish, and then I can help them strategize how we get there, then that's going to be a major advantage in helping to pull the board together, so that they also, you know, it's going to permeate throughout the entire village to have a board that is willing to host conversations that are difficult but really needed, and do that in a way that it makes Oak Park proud, and makes more people feel as if they're heard and as if they have a sense of belonging in our community. And you'll start to see then those relationships between governmental partners where we can build trust and collaborate deeper. And then that's going to, you know, you're going to see that it'll also be a village president that's very present. I've always been somebody that's at a lot of community meetings and who's at Thursday night outs and who's participating in things like the fundraisers that are biking for the housing center and NAMI and, you know, walks downtown. I've been doing that for many, many years. And so then to have a village president that is invested in those initiatives, it's just really, I think, going to change our trust for government almost immediately.
All right. And then Kate, same question for you. What are the biggest noticeable changes that students like me will be able to see? And you have 2.5 minutes.
Thanks. Vicki, I think the biggest change that you're going to see is more young people involved, more young people active, and more young people voices. I can't take credit for it because it wasn't my idea. But Lily Manning started an organization of young people, which is now called Youth Committee for Change, because she knew that I was running for office and wanted to learn more about politics and campaigns and local government. She took the initiative and she got involved, and she said, I have a lot of friends that aren't happy with what's going on or don't know what's going on and want to know more and want to be involved. And she got them all together, and it's my favorite hour of the week to attend that meeting and to hear their voices. It has been incredible to see them activate and get really involved in this campaign, and to hear what their concerns are, the things that get them excited, the things that they want to see and do, and seeing the ways that I can support that gives me all of the hope for everything. Our young people are undeniable. They have the clearest view of what is at stake for all of us and for everything. And so centering that voice, and I committed to the Youth Committee for Change that I would advocate for us having a commission of young people instead of diluting it among all the commissions. I think it's important to have a critical mass in order to have a voice, and also to make sure that way they can choose when to meet instead of having to work around typical adult consciousness schedules. Doing the things the way that young people want to engage and approach, us becoming more flexible and seeing that involvement, that is what I look forward to more than anything. And that's unstoppable. That's going to happen no matter what.
And your time is up just right now. Vicki, I'll give you 30 seconds to respond to what Cate said, and kind of see what differentiates you two as candidates.
Well, so I don't know if everybody knows, I was a school teacher. That's my first trade. And then I taught junior high and high school. And I also was the director of a local non-for-profit teaching piano for all ages, but mostly school age. And I've had an intern in the village clerk's office for, for 2 separate years. The same person has come back twice. And the pandemic has made that look a little bit different, but I would embrace having a youth involved.
Okay, and your time is up. We will touch on that subject later. Kate, you have 30 seconds. You can go ahead right now.
I'm sorry, we're responding. What are we responding to?
Yeah, so you're responding how you're different, how the community will be different based on who's elected, and also what Vicki said during her original 2.5 minutes.
Got it. Really, I think what it boils down to is, do we want to keep doing the thing that we've been doing, or do we want to do something different? I want to do something different, and I want to bring that into Village Hall, and I want to bring all of the young people that we've met along the way in with me.
Okay. The next question I have is specifically about just what you guys are talking about. How do each of you plan to actively incorporate more community members, especially students, into the political conversation of Oak Park? For this, we can start with Cate. You have 90 seconds.
Well, I recently got to Zoom visit some high school classrooms, and I think that we should have lots more of that. I realize that there are a lot of curriculum aspects that are consistent and correlated with the ways that we run our village government, and our village government, our local government, is the closest up thing and has a direct impact on our everyday lives. I think that taking an active approach to the ways that we are in relationship with our schools, and not having people elected, like some current board members, I've heard them say that they don't have anything to do with the schools and that they would have run for the school board if they wanted to have that conversation. We are whole people. We have one property tax bill. We are a family and a household, and whatever that makeup is. And we should expect that our local representatives are engaging actively in relationship with each other, so that those decisions that we are making are keeping all of the community top of mind.
And sorry, your time is up here.
Yeah.
Vicki, same question on community and student involvement. You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. So I've built coalitions at the township. I've been the co-chair of the Positive Youth Development Coalition since 2017, which before that I was the program coordinator. And that is all about engaging with the youth, and it's a perfect example of how you really need the voices of the youth to help you guide any policy to make sure that it's culturally relevant and we're working for our future. So we do have several commissions that have opportunity for youth involvement. I know one of the barriers from that has been time. And so I think that there should, having some young people who are involved, like in a environment and energy club at the high school, then still having the same kind of time to be able to participate at the village level. So I think that there should be some better collaboration between the clubs at the high school and the commissions. And then that way everybody can still really remain invested in where they want their energy to be at, but we can learn from each other, and we can now, make sure that that the village is remaining as informed as possible with the goals of young people and be responsive.
And sorry again, your time is up for that question. Um, so
Good question. I'm sorry.
yeah,
Um, I'm still the village clerk, and it's 5 o'clock, and I have to close early voting. And I don't know exactly how many questions that you have for us today.
I just have one more question.
Oh, great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Because I'm having a great time. I just thank you.
Yeah, and I figured with the timing and everything, I want to keep it not too long. But the final question is, how do you plan to bring the community together after election? Because this has been, I mean, more controversial of an election for a village president. So what are each of your plans for doing that? And for this question, I'll start with Vicki, and you have a minute and a half.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit, Ezekiel, before Cate arrived. We, for a village board to have the goals, shared goals, and to start there. And then for me to be able to use my experience in helping any trustee accomplish what it is that they want to accomplish in serving their community is already going to go a long way in helping to bring a board table together. I am restorative justice trained, but it's not, I'm dealing with all adults that love their community. So when I say that, what I'm using is the skill that I've got to listen to actually hear and learn from others, and use that as the village president, so that when I'm bringing that board together for those shared goals, everybody is feeling respected and heard, and we're presenting as a team. So I've had a front row seat to some of the dysfunction. And I know that a good deal of it is about responding with that defensiveness and fear that I talked about very early on, and knowing that there really is no place for that as an elected official. And so it is really important to understand that. And that's where you should be coming from, a place of deep civic service as an elected official. And that's where all of my experience is coming from. Thank you for the question.
Same question to Cate. You have 90 seconds.
I hear your question and understand your question to be about the community as a whole. And I believe that approaching it that way, how the community goes is how our board is going to go. The way through from where we are now to where we need to be is requires us to start with vulnerability, and to start with engagement and proximity and being available and accessible. Those happen to be very central skills to me and all the things that I do. And so taking that approach and bringing it to with the intention of having an accessible elected structure, I think is going to go a very long way to how we feel that we are able to approach each other and to access each other. One of the most meaningful endorsements that I have heard throughout this election is someone who I didn't expect to have this support of, but who told me that they saw the way that I was able to engage with someone who didn't agree with me, who was criticizing me, or criticizing a project, not criticizing me personally, but criticizing a project that I was supporting. And the way that I both engaged them and also maintained my integrity, that I carry very strongly and very front and center for all of this work.
All right. I enjoyed talking to both of you today. I got some insight. I hope the community and my fellow students can get some insight. And I'm really glad that both of you were able to show up for this today. Have a
Thanks,
good
Vicki.
weekend, spring break. Yeah, bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Cate, for your time. I appreciate you. I want to say, just take a stupid election. We would not have the opportunity to have all of these conversations. And I think that that is really important. And I appreciate all of the work that's going into this. And Vicki, I really appreciate you taking the initiative to make something like this happen. I can't wait till we're not having to do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Soon.
Yes, all very good points. Definitely. Democracy is my first love.